Business is changing. B2B is changing. Tech is changing, and it's changing super fast. All of that change is taking its toll on managed services. The thing is that change doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to scare you. We just have to be willing and able to change along with it. Now, one of the big problems that we're seeing so often in sales and marketing investments is that traditional sales and marketing that worked, call it 5-10 years ago in managed services, it's losing its effectiveness. So while I've never given this playbook away publicly before, I want to explain if I had to start over and start an MSP from $0 in 2026, this is how I'd get it to $1 million in ARR. And it might not be exactly the way you think. So for starters, let's just get this right out of the way. I'm just going to explain the too long didn't read version of this episode. Most managed services does not have a value problem. They have a positioning problem. You provide tons of value for your audience, for your prospects, your customers. However, the value in its perception is diminishing as the baseline expectation of technology functioning well is increasing. So let me say that again another way. Everybody expects that things just work, and they don't think they should have to pay high dollars to make things keep working. What that means is that when you're doing your job, they feel like they're overpaying you. And if you make a single mistake, they feel entitled to getting all of their services for free. So essentially what we have to do is change the narrative of how people interpret managed services. I've said this so many times, and I'm going to say it again. It's a foundational pillar of this whole episode. If nobody's buying your product, you can sell a different product. I'm not saying, hey, go start over and be a chicken farmer. What I'm saying is that you can reposition what you do through a different lens, and you could still deliver a lot of the exact same functionality, but it can be packaged in a totally different way. Let me ask you a question. If there was a book on the shelf that said, how to win back time using delegation, automation, and business process improvement, and there was a picture of a guy in a suit with his hand out holding a blue orb full of floating numbers. If you saw that book on the shelf, would you buy it? Probably not. But would you buy a book that said 4-hour work week with a palm tree and a hammock on the front of it and a bunch of negative space? Yeah, you probably did. That's the same book. It's just that instead of explaining the sausage making of how the 4-hour work week was achieved, it just explained the outcome of what happens when you do everything that's inside of the book. But that's all that book is. It's not reinventing anything fundamental, but there are some specific perspective changes and contextualized changes around those delivery mechanisms to save you time and money. But that's all it is offering you time and money to keep doing the same thing by batching tasks together, increasing automation, and improving your process of delegation. If you use that logic, and let's extrapolate that into managed services, why would somebody buy an ebook called The Fundamentals of Endpoint Security and How to Decrease Your Attack Surface? Obviously, that's a silly example, but furthermore, even the save time and money from productivity brownouts and make sure everything just works. It's the same thing. It's still sausage making, as I call it in Feel Good MSP. Instead, what happens to their business when they are more productive and they have no productivity brownouts and everybody has their problems solved right away? What happens to their business? That's the question we need to answer. And this is what I mean by repositioning. We cannot explain managed services the same way anymore because, frankly, less and less people care about it. But everybody needs it. So, one more example here. Have you ever worked with a financial planner? I have, or a financial advisor, or whatever they call themselves, somebody whose job is to take your money and make more money out of it. What is the first product that a financial advisor sells you? Not a trick question. What is the first product that a financial advisor sells you? So they do an audit or an assessment or whatever. That's always free. Then they say, okay, we're going to start working with you. Let's do this. What's the first thing they tell you to do? Make sure you get a little bit of an emergency fund, perhaps. Hey, put $1,000 in this account. But the first product they sell you, life insurance. Life insurance is not a sexy product because the reality is 90+% of people will never see a return on their investment because they don't die. They'll never file a claim. It's not about getting a return on investment. It's about protecting future values as well as all the sentimental value, protecting your family, etc. It's a lot easier to sell somebody life insurance when they have a family, of course. But what's my point? That product is not a sexy product, but it's a really high margin product. And they can package it into the narrative of building wealth. Because they say, hey, before we go and create wealth, we're going to protect all of your future income. This is a genius way of positioning life insurance. Hey, right now you're making X amount of money per year, but if something were to happen to you, we want to make sure that we can essentially guarantee that you will continue earning beyond the grave for your family, and they can get it potentially in a lump sum. And it's a really low cost. It's a cost of less than a cup of coffee a day. We can make sure that if your income stream ever cut off, then you can still create wealth and cover all of your assets, protect your family. That's all they're doing. They've repositioned life insurance as a prerequisite towards the more fun stuff, like making investments. People don't go to financial advisors to buy life insurance. They go to financial advisors to get rich. But the first step to getting rich is protecting your future income streams. Now, are you drawing the parallel? We need to bucket what managed services is. I'll just tell you right now. If I had to start from zero, okay, let me explain this. If I had to start from zero, this is how I would do it. I'd walk into a trade show, I'd hire a few people, I'd get all the tool stack, I'd let all the vendors wine and dine me to explain why they're the best ones, and I'd build my stack. But you need to tranche and bucket out what is everything that we provide and bucket it by function. The majority of what MSPs today are delivering, definitely the majority of what we're investing in for our tool set, is insurance. It is. You're insuring a business's productivity. Now, we don't want to be seen as insurance. We want to be seen as an investment. But the first step to investing is getting insurance. We need to stop letting the narrative end there. So endpoint protection, backup disaster recovery, incident response plans, right? Putting RMM, patch management, life cycle management. All the stuff that you and I understand, we fundamentally understand that this is ensuring future productivity. This is life insurance for a business. Okay? Certainly for a business's technology. That's the step one. But let's take the financial advisor's playbook and say, rather than selling people IT insurance, productivity insurance, we sell them the promise of what happens after they're well insured, they're well protected, their productivity baseline is established, and then we treat that as a foundation. We sell them the building that's going to sit on top of that foundation. We don't try to sell them on letting us dig a hole and fill it with concrete. Hey, we're building this thing for you. We're building this thing for you. But you, Mr. Customer, are flying at a net negative. You have a negative IT net worth. We need to get you back to baseline. And that's going to be the first 90 days. We're going to tackle that. The next 90 days, we're going to start actually doing some of the fun stuff, getting you really rocking and rolling. And then your cyber insurance, your cyber warranties, all those pieces as well. You know, make sure they're either eligible for cyber insurance or they actually are properly insured with all that stuff in place. That's basic IT support. Any good CIO or CTO is going to be making sure that a business has that stuff covered. But now let's look at the second bucket of what managed services does. We do actually quality of life is a big one. Quality of life. What tools and functions do you have to make it more fun or less annoying to work at this company for the users? Bucket all of that stuff together. And then we're going to have our productivity increases. All right. For the productivity increases, this is where the AI conversation actually should live. AI shouldn't be in charge of cybersecurity, at least not leading the helm, whatever. You can debate me on that later, but you guys know what I mean. We're not just going to be like, hey, we deployed an AI agent and now we leave it alone and Claude is going to defend your computers. We're selling them something greater than that. But now we can start looking at if they have all their bases covered and this client is super high margin, they never call us, they don't have tickets anymore. If they could leverage our expertise fractionally And what we know, what we've seen other businesses do from our perspectives and best in class, because we worked with so many dozens or hundreds of businesses, what could we do for them that would make it so that they could actually propel their business forward? And this is usually where strategy is going to come in, where we're actually running vCIO meetings, actually sitting into their business vision conversations and looking at where they want to go, helping them think through the infrastructure to help them reach their goals. But if you don't have anything of value to offer to a business in that capacity, you're probably not going to make it as an MSP in the next 10 years. That's just my opinion, okay? You're probably not going to make it because the security, the insurance is becoming commoditized. You can now buy life insurance, by the way, without a medical exam. You can buy it on the internet and allegedly get coverage. I'm suspicious, but that case in point, right? If a life insurance or if a financial advisor made their money just slinging life insurance policies, well, that's now been commoditized. It doesn't mean it's not important. It means that they now had to sandwich it into a bigger position that was more compelling to the audience. And that's what I need you to do. Baseline all of that stuff, but then use it as a springboard into the strategy conversation. Start thinking about how you can actually help a business. And then I think there's sort of two other additional monetization strategies that I would put in. I would have a fixed cost per site or company, and I would bucket it by like numbers of users. Probably 0 to 20 users would be the same price for AI adoption. Basically, AI utilization as a service. And it's going to be the same thing because we all know that baseline of really using AI is we need to have data governance. We need to have clean data. We need to have all of our governance in place. We need to have our security, obviously, baseline in place. We need to make sure that we're auditing their tool stack and they're using all the right stuff. And then AI needs to have access, the right types of access, and then needs to have the right interfaces. And then we have to train the users on how to interact with the AI, train the users on use cases for what AI is designed to help them do, etc. So there's a whole project scope to get somebody into, I want to be an AI native company. You understand that scaffolding. They don't. Charge them a fixed monthly fee to take them on that journey. The same way a financial advisor says, hey, you want to retire with $5 million? You got it. First things first, I need a $90 a month or $138 a month investment on your life insurance. And then we're going to do this. And then you're going to put money in this account. And then you're going to put that money in this account. And it's all the boring crap. That's what you're going to help them do. And I would build that on a AI as a service, and I would use cases of how you've made companies AI native as testimonials to get people to make that investment and say, I need a minimum 12-month commit from you on this, and I need $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And by the end of that, you will be 5xing your productivity on all of your frontline workers. So now you get protected MSP from them having a lower headcount or less headcount. Because if we're only tethered to headcount and technology is continuing to drive down headcount, then you're going to lose money the better of a job you do. So instead, we need to charge them for creating that productivity. Then from there, you could always go the business process automation route, but I don't want to get into that, honestly. The next thing I would do is vCSO. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. You guys know this about me. I'm not even a technology expert. But you need to monetize your vCSO offering, or call it your GRC offering, whatever. Hey, we're going to make sure that we are the most resilient, cyber forward, AI forward, technology native company that we could possibly be, so that any technological disaster could hit us and our business will survive. Not only that, we can compete at the highest levels with anybody else, and we will be above reproach when under any level of technology scrutiny or security or compliance scrutiny. But this vCSO function, this AI as a service function, and your traditional managed services function, they all work in tandem, but I would build them as 3 different business units. And they might even be majority of the same resources delivering those business functionalities, but because they're wildly different outcomes, I can charge different line items for each one of them. And now if I have a company who's 10 users, I don't max out at $2,000 a month at $200 per user, all inclusive of Microsoft licensing, to clear what, 30% maybe? You know what 30% of 2,000 is? $600. So instead of making $600 a month on a client, now I can say, hey, by the way, Let me do this ramp up, a 90-day ramp up for $5,000, and then we're going to cut to $2,000 a month, and I'm going to put in all of this massive AI. Your productivity is going to 50x, and it's going to do it in a way where it will continually improve. You'll be secure. You won't get hacked. The whole thing won't wipe all your systems. Versus if you tried to do this by yourself. And the same thing with vCSO. vCSO, as you know, the buyer has to have a lot of buy-in. They usually have to be a relatively mature business to actually understand the consequences of overlooking vCSO. But AI, everybody understands that. Everybody understands the hype train. And they're all guzzling down the same Kool-Aid. Okay? So you got to be the reality check that still offers them the results they're looking for and then delivers the boring in-between stuff without selling them on the boring in-between stuff. Don't sell them a book about process automation, delegation, and task batching. Sell them a book about working 4 hours a week. Making sense? So what's my point? From a marketing position perspective, I would lead by saying we are the technology partner that will increase your results by 10 to 50x per employee. That's what we do. How do we do it? With a holistic technology roadmap that's going to make you secure, resilient, and bulletproof to any changes in the future. And I both know the only way that happens is if they have a solid technology foundation, which is what managed services can deliver, but they don't want to buy that. Okay? They want ice cream. They need kale. So you make them a kale smoothie. If you just repositioned yourself like this, if you just take the advice from the last 15 minutes and thought hard about how you're positioning to the market, what you are expecting and asking your city to care about when they read your website, do a deep audit and ask yourself, am I making sausage here? Am I explaining things that they don't want to talk about? Or am I telling them what their life will be like because they did it? If you can make those gradual pivots without changing anything in the stack, without changing any of your service delivery model, you're just repackaging it into language that they care about and understand. Without, of course, obviously, you're not lying or making things up. Of course, you guys know that about me. I don't lie. But I'm also not going to tell people, I'm not going to sell people something that they don't want. I think the most ethical thing you can do is align your product with their actual goals. That's it. That's honestly the only change that you need to make, and you will be a highly competitive MSP. And if you continue thinking like a VAR and you bolt on these additional services that feel siloed, then to me, what that tells me from the buyer's point of view, if I'm in the buyer's shoes, you don't look agile to me. You look like a stodgy company who keeps Frankensteining together new services because nobody's buying your old service. But if you reposition yourself as this, it can still be modular. You can have more than one SKU. But if you have this future forward, outcome driven technology partnership where they get to talk to you, and then your back end is going to do most of the managed service delivery anyway. You and I both know that the majority of what you're selling them on the tool side is minutes a week of work. So you can start spending your energy on the actual human forward stuff. If I had to start over, that's how I would do it. I would go to the underserved 10 to 20 user fast growing companies. And I would walk in and say, if we could help you become AI native in X number of months, and by the way, AI native to us means blank. You have an ecosystem that protects all of your intellectual property, that's going to do the majority of your thinking for you in any area that you so choose, so that you don't have to fire anybody, but you can get the exact same thing done in less time. Some companies, Mr. Customer, are moving to a 4-day work week, still paying everybody their full-time salary and getting more done. Now, I don't really have that use case in front of me, but this is what I'm talking about. Most people who talk about AI, side note, most people who talk about AI, the people who are, as I said, are just guzzling the AI Kool-Aid, who will not shut up about AI to me, I have not actually seen any of them have significant changes in their life, their work style, or their income. If you're really telling me how freaking amazing your AI is, prove it. Make more money in less time. Show me. Show me how you 5x'd. Show me how you cut all of your labor down. Show me. And if you can show me, then you can show your customers. And if you can show your customers, the possibilities are endless. And how do you deliver that? The first step is traditional managed services. Just like the way that a financial advisor delivers me a 7-figure retirement is by selling me life insurance as the base. That's it, guys. That's what managed services is now. It's not is becoming. That's what it is. And this is the best way to protect yourself so that in the future, when LLMs are doing tier 1 for you, and you have an 11 Labs clone of your voice that's interacting with your tier 1 support because you don't have time for them, you can still charge as much, if not more than you're charging now, because you're not charging for pushing buttons and cranking, like turning cranks. You're charging for getting them the end result, which is what the managed services is a stepping stone unto. And then your job is to make that easier, faster, better, higher margin, better customer experience. And of course, AI is going to do all that for you over time. This sort of turned into an AI spiel, and you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, I don't talk about AI very much. The reason I don't talk about AI very much is because most people who are talking about AI, I just don't care. They're so full of freaking crap. They're just so high on their own supply, talking about how special they feel and how smart. They all want a trophy for their big idea, but I very rarely, and I'm talking about probably 5 people that I know in life, are actually changing anything of substance in the end result using AI. They save themselves 2 hours a week in video editing, but then they use that 2 hours a week buying all the training videos and reading white papers about more AI, and it all becomes this like multi-sourced, multi-level marketing company where all the money still ends up in NVIDIA's hands. But anyway, this turned into an AI thing. But of course, that's if I had to start for now, of course I would be AI forward. But this is what I would do. This is how I'd sell managed services. I would position myself as the last technology partner you'll ever need. And then when we get into it, I would say, never fire an employee for AI and get as much work out of your team as you could possibly want. And then you look at those use cases, and then I would make client avatars based off of different use cases. So one idea, I think this is still, one of the strongest ideas, is if everybody insists productivity can go up by 20%, truly, why can't we make everybody have Fridays off and pay them the same amount of money? You'd never lose an employee. Everybody would love it. You'd get a 3-day week, work-life balance achieved. It's a lot cheaper than giving them all platinum health insurance and all the other benefits, and they could be super happy with a 3rd day off. That's one use case. Another use case is some people probably want to downsize, and if you want to be that angel of death, you could do that. You could be their path towards downsizing. You could say, hey, where applicable, some businesses are finding that they need to change their business model to be more lean to keep up with the competition. And so we're delivering processes, tools, automations, and workflows to achieve just that, so that you only keep the best-in-class employees, and any employees who aren't motivated by your mission can find a good home on another company. That's probably the best that I know how to spin that. And then you make another avatar for keep everybody the same, but 20x their output. And then you could also go the like future thinkers, call it the early adopters, to be like, hey, executives, do you want a personal operating system and a full digital clone of your brain so that you could be everywhere all at once whenever needed, but you maintain total control? We could build you that. How would your company do if you had a co-founder who was you, who never disagreed with you, and who could never overrule you, but had all of your context and all of your skills? What would that do for your business? That's another use case. It's another persona that I would write marketing copy to. And then all of that's coming back to, you pay me $150 per employee per month, plus $2,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 a month for the AI component, and then $2,000 to $10,000 a month for a vCSO component once you get over a certain level. And we're going to make you millions a year off of that. That's what I would do, guys. Listen, this was kind of a quick one. I want to get in and out of this. So here's what I'd like to know. What don't you like about what I just said? I want honest, searing feedback if you think that I'm gone loco for Loco Puffs. If you think you like this idea and you want some support, email me that, brian@feelgoodmsp.com. Can't miss me, BRIAN. Don't write brain. All of y'all, some people be writing brain. BRIAN@feelgoodmsp.com. And I want to know, hey, Brian, feedback on that episode. I hated it. Here's why. I loved it. Here's why. Or I have follow-up questions. Here why. I will respond to every single one of you. Deal? All right, guys, get out there, do your thing. See you at the next one.